Hey guys, how you doing? Good to be on with you. Thank you for joining. Bob, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, Dave?
Pretty good. Pretty good. It's a bit cold out here. How's it going your way?
Um, I'm guessing it's colder here than it is there because I just ran the snowblower over my driveway yesterday and then went out and walked in ankle deep snow. And by Sunday, they're
Wow.
calling for a high temperature of minus 10 degrees, which would be, I think, about minus 25 on the Celsius scale.
Wow. Yeah, that's much colder. We don't really get any snow here, so yeah, much colder. Yeah. Um, so um first of all, I've got to say Happy New Year.
Happy
And
New
happy
Year to
New
you,
Year to
too.
everyone. Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone. And as you come in, if you would do us a massive favor, whoever's channel you're on at the moment, if you would smash the like button, that's really helpful for everyone because it brings more people into the chat, and we'll get a better chat going. Also, if you have any questions, please put a Q in front of it, and we'll get to your questions. Um, so, Bob, for anyone that hasn't met you that's watching from my channel, could you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. I'm semi-retired Bob. I put out daily content on YouTube. I primarily just walk and talk, showing you that I can walk because 20 months ago when I started this, I couldn't walk. I could barely stand up for more than a couple of minutes at a time without severe pain. I'm out there walking every day and doing a whole lot of other stuff. And we may get into it later about all of the things that have gotten better for me. In fact, if you're very curious, you can go over to my channel. I just put out my 20 months on carnivore video yesterday. So that explains most everything. And just because everybody always asks it, even though I say it's a side effect, it's not really one of the primary things. I have lost more than 150 pounds and I've kept it off now for almost a whole year. For those of you that are watching on my channel, Dave, why don't you go ahead and give a quick introduction for yourself? I can't imagine that there's anybody watching that doesn't know who you are, but just in case, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. So I'm Dave. I'm Scottish-born Australian, and I have been doing carnivore for about 19 months now. I started carnivore to help me kick sugar and alcohol, and or I started keto to help me drop sugar and alcohol, and it morphed into carnivore. And yeah, the rest is history. Got rid of arthritis, dropped 30 odd pounds, and whole host of other things that have improved. Has been great. Yeah, so nice to meet you all. And we have our first question from John. I'm sorry, I'm probably going to mispronounce your surname, John. So I'm not going to try. Um, Bob, how are those Fitville sneakers boots working out for you? I really like mine.
Yeah, I like mine as well. I wore the boots in what came out on my channel today. Tomorrow's video, I was actually wearing the sneakers because the spikes that I bought don't quite fit on the boots because the boots are big enough that the spikes don't fit. So I wore my trail runners with the spikes on them in tomorrow's video. And then I went back out. The video that will come out on Saturday that I recorded today, I was wearing just the boots again. And they have really good traction in snow. If you end up having to go out and walk on ice, you're going to want some kind of grippers, whether it's metal spikes like I wear, or they do make the little plastic nubs, whatever. But I find them very comfortable. The boots, it's been in the low 20s the last couple of days, and my feet have stayed very warm. Now, this Sunday, when it's supposed to be a high of -10, I will probably find an extra pair of heavy socks to put on under the boots just in case. But so far, they've had great traction. They fit well, and my feet have stayed very warm in them. I really like them a lot. I hope you like them as well, John, since I'm pretty sure I'm the one that turned you on to those.
Awesome. I love a high of -10. That sounds
Yeah.
sounds all backwards. It's so cold. All right, Bob, we've got another question for you from Craig Smith. It's a balmy 55 degrees in Oklahoma City today. What temperature is it in Omaha?
As of right now, it's 29 degrees. Just to give you an idea of where we're headed, because they're calling for snow tomorrow. We're under a winter storm warning for tomorrow. It's supposed to start snowing tonight and snow all day tomorrow, but we've got a high of 17 for tomorrow, a high of 11 for Friday, a high of -1 on Saturday, -10 on Sunday, -3 on Monday and Tuesday, with overnight lows of -16. That's what the current forecast is. Of course, I live in Omaha, so it'll change in 5 minutes, but that's what it is currently.
So -16. You're talking Fahrenheit when you said -16, right?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. So what's that? -16 Fahrenheit to Celsius is minus, huh? That's wrong. Google got that wrong. -26 degrees. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's Omaha,
Uh,
Nebraska. I have to laugh because you watch the news at night and you see all these weather guys talking about polar vortex. Oh, it's going to be so cold. It's going to be awful. It's just winter in Nebraska. It does this every year.
Yeah. Wow. So I guess there's no humidity at that temperature, right? It's just dry as.
Oh no, there's humidity with that too.
Oh, really?
That's what makes it feel so
Okay.
cold here. Yeah, right now it's 30 and the feels like is 26 because the humidity is 73%.
Oh, wow. That surprises me because I'm thinking, your description reminds me of, say, being in Finland in winter, and that's so dry there. It's yeah.
Well, it's not dry here in the Omaha Basin because we have the Missouri River on one side of us and the Platte River on the other. All the rest of the surrounding area is above 2,000 feet, but down in this bowl of Omaha, we're only at about 500 feet above sea level. So the humidity from the two rivers just kind of hangs here, which is what makes it, in the summertime, Joe and Rachel from Two Crazy Ketos came here for the Omaha Hard to Kill Summit the last weekend in July. And they stepped off the plane and said, we didn't think there was anywhere in the country worse than Florida. But this is by far worse than that was. They said they got their suitcases off the turnstile thing that comes, they take it off the plane and put it on the conveyor and it runs inside. They said it was so humid, the change in temperature, their luggage was soaking wet when they picked it up.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay, we've got a question here from Craig Smith. What does Dave eat for his regular meals? Good question. So I've already eaten, and typical breakfast for me is 10 eggs scrambled and about 500 grams. So that's about a pound of ground beef. And most days that's all I eat. Some days I'll get a bit hungry and I'll have an evening meal, but mainly it's just one meal a day.
Let me throw in there, for those of you that don't realize it, here in the United States, eggs come in a carton of 12. In Japan, if I'm not mistaken, your eggs actually come in a carton of 8, which is why you tend to eat 8 eggs.
10 cartons of 10.
Oh,
Yeah.
they come in cartons of
But
10. Okay.
yeah. But yeah, it's really weird, because everywhere I've ever lived, it's always been a dozen eggs. A carton is always a dozen eggs. And yeah, coming to Japan, for some reason, it's 10. I'm not sure why.
That
Hmm.
is weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, all right, guys. If you have any questions at all, any comments, anything you want us to talk about, just chuck a Q in front of your question or talking point, and we'll get to it. In the meantime, Bob, I have a question for you. What is that yellow square behind you?
That yellow
Or
square,
trapezoid?
yeah, it's actually a square. You just can't see it because I'm kind of
Okay.
sitting in front of all of it. It is actually almost an exact square. That is the actual outline of my property in Texas that I'm moving to later this year. That is 10 acres, which makes it about 660 feet per side. So once I get my house built down there, those mountains you see in the background will be the mountains that I wake up to every morning and go to sleep to every night. You can see, I'll see if I can get it pointed out. This little strip here is the township road that I live on. And then that bigger line there is the county road. And to find my property, you have to go 6.5 miles north of I-10. The 6.5 mile mark puts you right there, so you still have to travel about a quarter mile into my property. But I-10 is 6.5 miles south, and then the city of Van Horn is about another 10.5 miles to the west, which puts it about 95 miles into El Paso, Texas, once you get to the interstate. But that's what that is you're looking at there. That's the land that I'm moving to in Texas.
So, I mean, that's an awesome view to wake up to, but, I mean, what's it like at night? Like, is there any lights around, or is that it's just, like, pitch black and you're only lit by the
Um,
stars?
I have not actually been to the land yet. I bought it sight unseen off of a friend of mine's website, but looking at Google Maps, the closest neighbor is about 6.5 miles south of me because he's got a farm. You can see the green circles of farm on the other side of I-10, to the south of I-10. I'm north of I-10. And then I'm sure there are some lights over at Jeff Bezos' launch pad, which is about 15 or 16 miles to the northwest of my property. Other than that, if you look at the aerial maps and everything, there's nobody else out there. So I suspect it will be very, very dark, and I'll get to do some serious star watching because there won't be any light pollution out there.
Nice. So, you mentioned the I-10. The I in I-10 is interstate?
Yes.
Um, I wonder, I used to live in LA, and I remember I used to have to drive on the 10 motorway, freeway. I'm not sure. I wonder if that's the same as the I-10, if that continues through or if that's different.
Yes. I-10 goes from Los Angeles roughly all the way through to Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay, so I
The
have
way
driven
the
there.
Yeah, the way the freeways are numbered in the United States is the even numbered I's are east to west throughs. There's I-10, I-20, a little piece of I-30 in Texas, and then I-40 goes all the way across the country. I-70 goes all the way across the country, and then I-80 and I-90 are both way far north, but they are still, like I-90 goes through North Dakota and Montana out to Seattle.
Hmm.
And then the odd numbers, like if you were in LA, I'm sure you drove on the I-5, which is the
Hmm.
furthest west, north to south throughway. And then as you move across the country, like there's I-81 is the big one that runs on the East Coast,
Hmm.
um, between central Pennsylvania down through to like Atlanta, Georgia.
Hmm. Oh,
So
cool.
that's the way the freeways are kind of laid out here.
Yeah.
And I only
Oh,
know that
cool.
because I was an over the road truck driver for decades.
Yeah. Okay. I think we got a few more questions come through. Hang on a second. Dun, dun, dun. And I'm doing a really bad job of going through comments and questions. Actually,
That's
sorry about
okay.
that. So Craig, how did Dave end up in Japan? Very good question. The summarized version is that I traveled a lot. As I just mentioned, I'd lived in LA, I've lived in other places around the world for my job when I was quite young, in my very early 20s. And after I finished with that job, I moved back to Australia. And the next few years living in Australia started to become very same old, same old, and I really wanted a change. I really wanted to kind of experience that feeling of traveling and being in a different place again. So I decided to just give Japan a try for a few years, and a few years has turned into almost 18 years now. I'm 2 months shy of my 18-year anniversary. So yeah, it's a very easy place to live. Yeah. And but thanks for your question, Craig. And we have another question here. Hey, Dave and Bob, love your content. Question for Bob: what are your thoughts on wearing a weighted vest or backpack with weights on your walks? I do it to get more out of my walks.
Depending on where you are in your journey, if you find you have to walk for 2 or 3 hours a day to feel like you're getting a workout in, then that's probably time to add a backpack or add a weighted vest or whatever. It all depends on where you are in your journey. Because now I'm retired. I know my name is semi-retired Bob, but there's a whole other story behind that. When I had my heart surgery, I could no longer drive big trucks, and big trucks are called semis here in the United States. And my cousin, because I couldn't go back to driving the truck, my smart mouthed cousin said, well, since you can't drive your truck anymore, does that make you semi retired? And the name kind of stuck. But I actually have time. If I want to, I can go out and walk for 3 or 4 hours at a time. Most people don't have that luxury. So, a half hour to 45 minutes is about what people can, in general. Now, I'm making generalizations here, but in general, that's how much time people have to get their exercise slash movement slash workout in for the day. And in that case, if you don't feel like you're getting any kind of a workout in walking for 45 minutes, it's probably, and you're not retired and have time to just go walking, to the river and back. I think it's perfectly okay to put a weighted vest or a backpack on. I actually have a backpack that I used to throw my camera bag in and a couple extra bottles of water and stuff like that made it up to about 20 pounds. And that's a good weight to start with.
Nice. And I haven't done anything like that, but I should. I should actually start wearing a weighted vest for walking because I I enjoy walking, but it's a little bit, I could do with putting a bit more effort into it. So, um,
You're still
good.
actually walking to work, though, aren't you, Dave? Or
Well,
walking to the transit to ride to get to work?
oh yeah. So I do a lot of walking just generally, but it's all like little bursts. But I'm kind of doing my video editing and stuff in a WeWork kind of shared office at the moment. And what I enjoyed doing after I finish work there is walking home, and that's a 90-minute walk. And so I'll do most days I'm doing a 90-minute walk now. So yeah, I could definitely chuck the vest on to give me an extra bit of workout. So, fractal beans. How do you deal with habit pressure or social pressure when socializing, for instance? Do you step into keto terrain or do you stay strictly carnivore? Bob, do you want to take that one first?
Well, I was actually sitting here reading that question going, I'm going to have to pass this over to you, Dave, because I don't have any friends and I don't go anywhere. I can count on one hand the number of times I have been out somewhere since I started Carnivore 20 months ago. Other than
Mm,
to take my walks and go see stuff and do that kind of stuff. I don't socialize a lot. Um, I'm too busy right now making plans for all getting everything together to move to Texas and do all that stuff. Um, the few
mm,
church outings that I've gone to, I've stayed strictly carnivore. And if they're not having something I can eat, I just don't eat.
mm. Yeah. So for me, this has really happened in two parts. So, when I first started carnivore, I'm not someone that can easily, or I never used to be someone that could easily sit by and watch someone eat something delicious looking or drink some alcohol or whatever and just ignore it. So the first part of this for me was I had to just abstain from going out with people. I had to just say to friends, "Look, I'm having some health issues at the moment. I have to stay away from alcohol and some other things. And so if you're having a party or whatever, don't invite me for the moment. I'll let you know when kind of this point's over." And so that helped me kind of get well into carnivore without having the pressure of people asking me if I wanted a donut or, offering me drinks or whatever. But once I got over that, now I can just stay strict to carnivore. I don't feel any pressure at all. Whether it's, people if people can say, "Oh, here, have this, have this. What would you like this or whatever?" But now it's got to the point now where it's a feeling of, you know, it's almost like I feel quite satisfied with myself that I can just go, "No, I'm fine. I'm okay. Don't worry. I don't need it." It makes you feel good. It's a self-reinforcing kind of thing, I think. Yeah. Sorry, that's a long way to answer that one. Um, Craig, Dave, have you experimented with other types of meat? What's your experience? Um, not so much. What I've Mainly, I eat ground beef, but that's in Japan, that's a mix. That's a 60-40 mix of pork and beef. So 60% beef, 40% pork. Um, Other than that, I've tried occasionally I'll have a bit of liver if I go out to a barbecue restaurant. And recently, one thing I did add in was meat, salmon roe was something I added. I've been eating a little bit more recently just because, there's so many vitamins in there, and it's easy to eat, because you just take a teaspoon of it and shove it in your mouth, and you can swallow it without chewing it or anything. And it's an acquired experience eating salmon roe because when you chew it, you get this kind of popping in your mouth as the eggs explode. So it's yeah. So you've never tried that, Bob?
No.
Not going to?
Let me think about it. No.
No. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't look so good. It's just like little orange, like they're quite as fish eggs go, they're quite big, but yeah, it's yeah, it's okay. It's for the health benefits. That's the way I look at it. And Pete, how you going, Pete? Bob, do you find the cold exposure from your walks good for general health?
I wish I could answer that question. I don't know. I feel like I'm doing pretty well, but I spent the last 2 winters down in North Carolina to avoid this cold. Um, so this is really my first exposure to the cold weather. Now I can tell you, it got into the 30s and 40s in North Carolina for a while last year. And anybody that's watched my channel for a long time can tell you, I don't think I got through February last year where I did not complain about the cold in every single video all through February. And I don't even really notice it. I've noticed that I am better at surviving the heat because I work outdoors in the summertime in a stone block building under a tin roof with basically no ventilation unless the wind is coming from the exact right direction. So it gets really hot there. And I didn't even really notice that. And I'm noticing that I have not had any trouble with the cold yet. And I haven't gotten sick from being out walking in it either. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, -10 is going to be a new experience. I have not actually walked anywhere in that kind of temperature in, I don't know, probably a decade. But I do feel like the cold baths I've been taking for cold water therapy have more attuned my body to getting out in other weather. I hope that answers your question.
We got a comment here from John Boston. Great chat. Both of you men have been great inspirations on staying carnivore. I watch both of your channels daily. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, John.
Thanks a bunch, John.
Okay. Kai Bing Chen, I am on carnivore for over 6 months. Now I have a metallic taste in my mouth. Please, any advice? My first thought is that's just maybe the ketosis you're in is maybe a little bit stronger than it has been. Like, the ketosis has ramped up a little bit. Any thoughts, Bob?
Yeah, that's my first thought, is that perhaps you're in one of those cycles where your ketones are really high. And, we have basically 3 ways to get rid of things in the body. We either excrete them, number 1, or number 2. We sweat them out through our sweat glands, or we exhale them. And my guess is that you're exhaling things. If it really bothers you, maybe brush your teeth an extra time during the day, or throw some salt, take a few taps of salt on your tongue throughout the day, and perhaps that will help. If it continues to get stronger, I would advise going to see your healthcare professional. But my gut feeling is that that's just a byproduct of ketosis, and after a few weeks, it will go away again.
Yeah, I feel like in the first 6 months to a year, it was kind of like this. For me, it's a bit of a roller coaster of it get stronger, get weaker. But now it seems to have, I don't know, leveled out. Yeah. Okay, the carnivore boss. Have either of you improved your eyesight by following a carnivore diet? Bob?
I can't say either way, because I started the carnivore lifestyle about 2 months after I got my brand new glasses from a new eye doctor that I had never seen before. And I see extremely well with these. However, I can tell you that if I take them off, I can read the comments. The reason I'm looking away from you, it's not that I'm trying to definitely look away from you, but I have a much bigger monitor over this direction. And I can read those without my glasses on the big monitor. So if I have to answer that question, I'll say maybe a little. But I can tell you the early morning wake up and, the cold cloth on the face just to get the eyes working again and all that, I don't have to do any of that stuff anymore.
For me, the biggest change with eyesight has been floaters. I don't have as many floaters as I have had. I first noticed floaters when I was about 23. And I was like, what is this? I started having a meltdown thinking, what's happening to my eyes? And then, did a bit of reading and realized that it's just protein that floats around in your eyes. But it's been much improved since I've been on Carnivore. Okay, Gail. Hey, Gail. Bob, do you have any other family, and how do they feel about your carnivore lifestyle in light of your past health events?
I have two sisters. The one sister's a retired school teacher. She retired from teaching school after 37 years to go manage a running store. So she's a distance runner. She's been off and on the keto lifestyle for decades. So she doesn't really have a whole lot to say about it. My older sister, the retired Air Force general, she does not voice her opinion about whether or not she thinks it's a good idea. But when I first talked to her about it, she asked me some very specific questions to make sure that I had at least researched this and done my homework rather than just, oh, here goes Bob off on another crazy side thing. And other than that, that's the only other family I have is people like Gail who watch my channel every day.
Okay, nice. Craig Smith. Dave, how is sardine production in Japan? Could you ship some fish to Bob? He loves sardines and tuna.
You had to know he was going to say sardines at some point during the chat today because sardines are his thing.
Oh. How's sardine production in Japan? I'm not sure, but and Bob, are you're sardine and tuna aficionado, or is that
I like tuna.
uh,
Craig actually sent me a case of sardines, and I said if he sent them to me, I would eat them live on my live stream, and I did that, and then it took me another 5 or 6 months to get through the other 11 cans, but I have used all of them. I don't know if I actually need to, but I use canned tuna or canned salmon about once a week. I mix that up with my ground beef because I buy the very cheapest ground beef you can get. So just in case there's not quite enough omega-3s in the ground beef that I'm buying, about once a week I throw either a can of tuna or a can of salmon into my ground beef just to up the omega-3s a little bit. But I will never buy sardines for myself on purpose because they are nasty little things.
So if you put the sardines in with the ground beef, do you like kind of mash them all up so you can't tell it's sardines anymore?
Yeah, but with sardines you can still tell. It's amazing how one little can of sardines can pollute 2 full pounds of ground beef.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is, I mean, I like sardines, but not, I don't love them, but I like them. But regarding the smell, it's interesting. Like, when I've got if I ever have an open can of them in the kitchen and my daughter's around, I'm just like, don't knock that over. Do not knock that over. Because it's like, if that goes on anything, it's going to stink forever,
Yeah. Now, speaking of stink, the only thing that I've ever purchased at somebody else's recommendation, because, I started off, I still do watch Dr. Barry every time he puts a video out. But he was talking about cod liver. He was saying how cod liver is a nice neutral liver, and it's a good place to start to get a little liver in your diet. So I ordered some cod liver from Amazon. And it's the only food I've ever ordered that I threw away because I opened the first can and my kitchen stank for 3 or 4 days behind opening that can of cod liver in the house. And I threw the rest of them away. I had no desire to open them because they were even more nasty than sardines. And that's saying something because sardines, anybody that actually eats sardines on purpose, in my opinion, is defective.
That's yeah, it's not nice to walk into every time you walk into your kitchen and have it smell like a sushi shop, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Um, okay. I'm really behind at looking at these looking at the comments to see if there's any questions. So here we go. Okay, Lambs. Hey Lambs. What are your gentlemen's choices of food? Do you vary and why? Why not? Well, mine's like just eggs and ground beef. And you know, that's pretty much it because I'm a creature of habit. I get into the habit of doing something and I'm quite happy just staying that way. How about you, Bob?
Yeah. 98% of the food I've eaten in the last 3 months has been ground beef and eggs. I have had a couple of pork butt roasts because I caught them on sale for $1.92 a pound. And at $1.92 a pound, that's meat you can't really say no to. When ground beef, even on sale, is about $3 a pound. So it's a whole dollar a pound savings to buy the pork butts and throw them in the slow cooker. And then I've already eaten one tray of chicken thighs, and I've got another one in the freezer because the last time I was at the store, they had those half off. So they were already just $1.79 a pound, but they were half off. It was buy one tray, get one tray free. And again, that's cheap enough that when you're on a budget like mine, you can't really say no to it. So there's 8 thighs to a tray. I cooked up all 8 of them, ate 6 of them in one meal, and then had 2 with some eggs the next day. And then it'll be probably 3 or 4 weeks before I thaw out the other tray of chicken thighs because I do like beef the best, and primarily I eat ground beef and eggs.
Okay. John Boston, Dave, I've had the fish roe. Let me say that it must have been doing something because I was chasing the ladies. Nice one. There you go. That's a good reason to be eating your salmon roe, Bob.
No,
Can't convince you.
no.
Okay. Um, it's Kathy, how you doing? I'd say I still have a couple of floaters, but my eyesight improved from -2.75 prior to Carnivore to -1.25, 2.5+ years on Carnivore. Nice.
That is
Okay.
nice.
Hmm. Question. Oh my goodness. I'm really behind looking at the comments. But okay, here we go. Creative Soil. I eat hamburger meat, sardines, eggs with water and salty. I still experience bloating. Hmm.
It could be the sardines or it could be the egg whites.
Hmm.
Um,
I had a feeling you were going to blame the sardines first, Bob.
yeah, I'm going to blame the sardines for everything first, but in reality, I would say probably try cutting out the eggs, see how you feel. Cut them
Hmm.
out for a week and see how you feel. And then if the bloating goes away, try adding back just the egg yolks. Because
Hmm.
now I'm not a doctor, I don't know this for sure, but I have heard from many different people that most people that have an egg reaction, they're usually reacting to the egg whites and they usually are okay with the yolks.
Hmm. I think that's good advice. And the thing to really remember here is the great thing about carnivore is you're down to eating so few things that it is easy to test that way that Bob's just recommended, because just cut that one thing out. They cut out the eggs, and if things improve, then something about the eggs. Yeah.
And there was, if you
Okay.
scroll back up to on my, it shows 534. It looks like Anna has a question.
534. Okay. Let me go back. Anna. Okay. Do either of you have a physical timeline chart of your carnivore journey? Thank you both for this live chat together. You're both inspirational for me, down to earth, realistic journeys. Bob, do you have a physical timeline?
Absolutely. It's on my YouTube channel. If you go back and look at the playlists, it starts with September of last year. There's a few videos that I put out from when I went carnivore until September the 1st, but the very first playlist is my September walking challenge from 15, 16 months ago, whenever that was. And I've been putting out daily content ever since. So you can go back and watch that and see the timeline for yourself as far as the changes that have happened to me since what would be September the 1st, 2022.
So I don't really have that kind of physical timeline because I didn't really pay attention to anything until I was 3 months in and I realized, how much was changing. So I've got some watching some of my videos kind of along the way. There's discoveries that I make after that 3 months, but they're much fewer than what happened in that first 3 months. Anything else here? Da-da, da-da. Oh, here we go. Hey, John. Do you both plan to always eat this way, or will either of you incorporate any non-animal products? Bob.
I'm not planning on incorporating any non-animal products. I may occasionally have a little taste of something here and there, but it will be less than a 0.5% because I know how I felt 20 months ago when I started this way of eating. And I've had such great gains. I see no reason to ever consider putting that stuff back in my body. Now, like for a birthday or a special occasion, I might still have a piece of cake or a piece of pie or something like that. But as far as actually incorporating into my everyday meal plan, absolutely not. I never really liked vegetables anyway. Well, I liked green beans, but I liked green beans if you cooked them in bacon grease. So what I really liked was bacon. And there's nothing wrong with having bacon in this way of eating. So I just skip the whole green bean part and go straight to the bacon.
um, I plan to always eat this way for a couple of reasons. The first one is I have tried to add some vegetables back on a couple of occasions, and both times the joint pain has come back immediately. So there's very slim chance that I'm ever going to go back to eating in a normal way. And the other reason is I just can't be bothered. I don't want to go back to that place of having to think about food all the time and having to spend hours preparing food and buying snacks and buying this, that, and the other. This is just so time saving, right, Bob? I'm sure it saves you a lot of time as well compared to before.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in fact, I just put, I don't remember which day it was, but if you go back, there's one video that I just put out yesterday or the day before that the thumbnail says flip the easy switch because I didn't feel that press the easy button. I could get away with that because, the easy button belongs to Home Depot, I think it is, or Office Max or one of those big corporations. So I say flip the easy switch. And I talk about how easy this is. You go shopping, you walk around the outside of the store, there's the eggs, there's the butter, there's the discount meat bin. So I'll empty that out into my cart, and then whatever else I fill up with, there it is. I'm in and out of the store in 10 minutes or less. And then I don't have to think about what I'm going to cook that night. Well, I'm going to have meat and eggs. That's what I'm going to have. if I happen to have picked up something in the discount meat bin, then that's what I'm going to have. But primarily, it's, if you're eating the same thing every day, you don't have to think about it. You just cook it, you eat it, and you go on with your day. It's easy.
Yeah. It's it's but it's a bit of a mind shift as well. Like if you're coming from a regular diet, you can't imagine what it would be like. But yeah, once you've been eating this way for a few months, it's very hard to switch back.
Mm-hmm.
So Salty Texas Ranger, day 250, down almost 100 pounds now. I cannot express in words how amazed I am and how well Carnivore has worked for me. Congratulations.
Yes,
Nice
that's worth a
work.
high five and a fist bump. Good job. And
Yeah,
if you
nice
flip back
work.
up one comment up from John Boston, he makes an excellent point about sardines.
You need about 4 cans of sardines to get a pound of sardines. That's going to cost you about $9 a pound. I will buy chuck roast and slow cook it instead of buying those costly, smelly sardines.
Yes, John, high five and a fist bump. Good job.
Nice. Okay, here we go.
And here in Nebraska, I can get the chuck roast for, actually, I'm trying to stay under that amount, which is why I'm primarily doing ground beef, but I can get chuck roast all day long for $4.99 a pound here in Omaha.
Nice. So John Boston's got a question. I saw Laura Sparth make hot dogs wrapped in bacon. Have you tried those? Craig can try sardines wrapped in bacon and let us know how they were.
Yeah, if you go back, or you happen to be a member of my Facebook group, which is absolutely free, I actually made, because the grocery store that I shop at, they had Sheboygan hot dogs, which are big, really big all beef hot dogs, on sale. I normally don't buy them because they're like $6 for a package of 5, but I got them for $1.50 each out of the manager's sale bin. And I took 2 of those, and that's what I had for Christmas dinner. And there's a picture of that on my Facebook group, where I took those big all beef hot dogs, wrapped them in bacon, and tossed them in the air fryer till the bacon was nice and crispy. They were really, really good. It's not something I would have every day, but it made for a very nice Christmas dinner.
And what about the sardine wrapped in bacon and thrown in the air fryer? How does that sound?
No. Sardines in the air fryer sound like a really good way to make my house smell like sardines for a month.
Yeah. I can imagine they'd probably be exploding or like popcorn sardines.
We'll let Craig experiment with that, and he can tell us how it goes.
So, Carlos, hey, how you doing? Dave, did you have trouble with trying to stop drinking? My father is stage 4 ALD. What's ALD? Stage 4 ALD. What are the stages of ALD?
Probably advanced liver disease.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Stage 4 advanced liver, but he cannot stop with the alcohol. Did Carnivore help you with the cravings? Yes, it did. Carnivore helped me with the cravings, but it was. I will say it wasn't 100% Carnivore. Part of it was I had to change everything I did during the day. Because I knew that if I walked past the same places where I would normally buy beer on the way home, or you know, the same bar that I would drink at, or whatever it was, I would be overcome and I would just go in there. So it was Carnivore helped me with self-control, but the second thing that helped me was changing up my routines and, you know, going the long way around so I could bypass everything. Yeah, but I hope your father can get out of it. My father was in the same situation, and yeah, he just it got beyond him. So anything your father can try is is definitely worth it. Okay. So here we go. Oh, this is about sardines. Great. Besides joint pain, what other issues has Dave alleviated with this diet? Um, okay, so yeah, I had the arthritis in my left knee. That's gone. Um, I had back pain getting up. I had um, no energy in the mornings, and now I can just kind of get out of bed and get started. Um, I had gum disease, bad breath, bleeding gums, sensitive teeth and gums. All of that's gone. I can use a hotel toothbrush now without my gums bleeding, which is awesome. Um, and the
You have
biggest
hair.
thing, yeah, I have hair. Yeah, hair regrowth. That's something I noticed along the way. Um, my hair started growing back. I had like the bald patch up here, and it started coming back through. Um, it's still thinner than the rest, but it's definitely growing back. Um, but the biggest thing was I had a stroke when I was 17. And from that age, I've had a lot of palsy on my right hand side. So that meant that when I walk, I limp, and I've got a weaker right side generally. And things are getting better. Again, it's not perfect, but things have started to improve. I'm much more balanced. I can run up and down stairs, which you imagine my right side, I had palsy from a stroke, and my left side, I had arthritis in my left knee. Before Carnivore, it was just a circus act walking down the street, and walking up the stairs and stuff. Well, I wouldn't really call it walking up the stairs. But now I can run up and down the stairs and feel light on my feet like I did if I'm running around when I was in high school. So that's been great. Yeah. And here we go. Chris, what do you guys use to tenderize the sirloin, or do you bother? Um, I don't tenderize because I don't cook anything like that at home. I just stick with ground beef. The only time I have steak is when I'm out at a restaurant. How about you, Bob?
Yeah, no, the only thing that marginally will taste like sirloin to me is because I am an old cheap guy. I will occasionally, if it's on sale, get stew meat, and I throw that in the skillet with some butter. And if you brown it just right, you can fool yourself into thinking you're having sirloin tips, even though it's just stew meat. Because
Oh, nice.
I don't buy anything like that because I I just don't. I can't afford it.
Hmm.
I would love to be able to have sirloins and ribeyes and all that kind of stuff every day because I do like a good steak. But if you've ever watched Dr. Baker's videos, all that food he eats, I would love to be able to eat like him. But if I were to eat like him, I could eat 3 or 4 days a month, and the rest of the month I'd have to fast because I would be out of money for the month. Because that stuff he's eating is between $25 and $35 a pound. I can't afford that. I wish I could answer your question better, but I don't have any idea. There are some people out there that cook on their channel that you might get some ideas from, but I don't cook. I do ground beef and eggs.
We're the ground beef and eggs team, Bob.
Yes, indeed.
So, Sandra, hey, have you ever made egg yolk sauce to put over your steak or ground beef? And do you do it raw or slightly cooked? I never heard of that until I saw a video on the feed for yolk sauce. Sounds delicious. Interesting. I've never tried it. Have you, Bob?
Let me think about it.
I can,
No.
I can see by the look on your face you hadn't tried it.
I primarily scramble my eggs until they're done all the way through. If I fry eggs, like if I happen to have the time and the effort to put into frying my eggs in bacon grease or butter, I fry them hard. I like them fried until they're crispy around the outside and the yolks are hard all the way through. I can occasionally tolerate it if the yolk is a little runny. The problem is that if there's a little bit of runny white, I can't eat it. It's just gross. So the short answer to your question, Hope, is no.
Yeah. That's very similar feeling about the white of eggs to me, Bob. I'm not crazy about the runniness of the white of an egg. Yeah, it's got to be nicely cooked. I will say though, in Japan, um, everyone eats raw egg here. It's very common to eat raw egg, and when I was growing up, I was always taught, raw egg equals salmonella, don't do it, you know. Um, but I finally tried it a few months ago, actually on a live stream, and it was surprisingly good. It tasted pretty good. But I did have to mix it up, so it was like it just looked yellow and kind of frothy because I'd been mixing it. It wasn't like the yolk and the white and, because that texture would not have been good for me going down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that would be like eating a raw oyster or something for me, and yeah.
I don't do raw foods.
Oh,
Period.
yeah, and, Sandra says, "There's no white in an egg yolk sauce." Yeah, good point. No, I was just commenting, I was just following up on what Bob had said about egg whites. Um, Grateful Keto. Have you guys tried using hot sauces, especially on hamburger? It gets boring. I haven't. I just go crazy with the salt. How about you, Bob?
Once upon a time, a year and some change ago, I was using Frank's Red Hot Sauce, which is really good. Um, I thought, wow, this is really good, and I can have it and all that. And I bought a great big, like quart-sized bottle of it, and I used it maybe 5 or 6 times, and then didn't bother anymore. I just salt my hamburger and my eggs and call it done. And I ended up throwing most of that bottle away because it was just sitting in
Mm,
my fridge doing nothing. So
mm,
I don't mind a good hot sauce as long as it's just hot pepper and vinegar and water, but I don't really bother with it.
mm,
And I don't get bored. I actually like hamburger. Sometimes, occasionally, I'll actually make it into patties and have hamburger patties that I cook a little longer and get a little crispy around the edges. But primarily, I just like the ground loose beef bowl. I throw it in the skillet and brown it till it's brown, and then I dump it on my plate, dump the scrambled eggs over top of it. Boom, I'm ready to eat.
mm. Nice.
How about you, Dave?
Yeah, no, yeah, just salt, 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 salt. That's it. No sauces, no nothing. Yeah. Um, and part of that is because I'm just so worried about if I put anything that tastes even remotely exotic on my food, that's gonna be a trigger for me to, start seeking out more kind of exotic tastes which might contain sugar. So, yeah, I just stick with the basics. So, I don't think there's any more questions left. And Bob, we've been going for about an hour. So shall we wrap things up and maybe how do you feel about doing this again next week, same time?
Sure, I could do it again next week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um yeah.
go ahead and set it up and send it on down my way.
Yeah.
Because you're doing all the work. All I got to do is show up and talk, which I like to do.
Yeah.
I'm
Sounds
okay
good.
with that.
Yeah. No worries. So it's a date. Yeah, let's do it again for 8 a.m. Japan time Thursday morning next week, or what is it, 5 p.m.
5
Central
p.m.
time
Central Time
Wednesday?
on Wednesday the
Yeah,
17th. Sure.
yeah. So thank you for joining us, everyone, and really appreciate you all coming on, putting your questions in, and having a chat with us. And Bob, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. Have yourself a great day over there in Japan, because I know it's now Thursday morning over there. My guess is that you probably have to leave for work fairly soon.
Yeah, I got to go and do some shopping and then head off to work. Got to stock up on the ground meat and then, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
head off.
And I have to go out. The trash was a day and a half late, so I have to put my boots and everything back on and go out to the curb and get the trash bins in, so they're not in the way. And then I'll probably have to run the snowblower again in the morning, because we're supposed to get some more snow overnight. So I'll see you next week, the same time, Dave.
Cheers. Have a good one.
Thanks to everybody for
Thanks,
stopping by.
guys.
Have a great day, guys.